It was late and I was trying to sleep. Then I felt my mom's dog jump up in my bed. I thought it was a little weird that I didn't hear her walk into my room, and that she just somehow landed exactly in the middle of the bottom of my bed and I couldn't hear her breathing. After a few minutes, I still haven't heard her breathing, and she hadn't moved. So I tried to poke her with one of my feet, but there wasn't anything there. 1 minute later, or something like that, I got up from my bed and went to the kitchen. And while walking to the kitchen, I saw my mom's dog sleeping in the living room, and all the cats were in the living room as well. I thought it was scary when it happened, but I don't think it's scary any longer. Every time I hear someone speaking when no one else is home, hear some breathing from inside the walls, see someone else standing beside me in a reflection, see someone's face outside my window, I live on the second floor, or someone who I can't see touches my hair, I either don't care or get happy. I see them as my friends now. I think it happened 2 years ago. I had a bunk bed which I shared with my sister. I had the top one, and my sister had the bottom one. I was playing on my phone, and then I decided I should go to sleep. As I was putting my phone away, I saw my sister standing in the middle of the room. I asked, "What are you doing?" But she didn't answer. As I mentioned before, we had a bunk bed, so if one of us kicked some part of the bed, the other would notice it. In that moment, I felt a light punch coming from my sister's bed. Then I realized that the person who was standing in the middle of the room wasn't my sister. I literally froze and thought I was dealing with some doppelganger or some supernatural thing. Out of fear, I was just staring at the person, unable to move. Some time passed, and the person walked out of my room, and I didn't sleep for like several hours. In the morning, I asked my parents if they have seen anyone walking around the house at night. They told me that no one was in the house except for them, me, and my sister. I still don't know who this person was, and if it was real. I'm going to read the beginning of this comment just to make sure no one thinks that I'm editing it. Okay, let me think. I live a pretty normal life, so the story I'll be telling will have some changes to it, but it's based on a real experience. I awoke to loud whimpering by the side of my bed. I groaned and rolled to my side, seeing my dog standing beside me. He was constantly doing this, waking me up in my room and checking on me, and waking me up if I was asleep. Like he was making sure I was alive. Which seems cute, but got rather annoying while you were asleep. With a groan, I sat up, strapped on my brace, needed due to health issues that I would rather not go into right now, and grabbed onto my dog's collar and dragged him out of my room. He whimpered, protesting against going out there. I was on the verge of tears trying to get him out, and I finally just let him stay, as long as he didn't wake me up. I left my door open a crack so he could leave if he wanted to. Now, here's some stuff you need to know, but I couldn't find a natural way to squeeze it into the story. My dog is an old dog, 16 to be exact, and he was on his last legs. He was older than me at the time. Another thing is that my dog was very attached to my mom, so despite sore legs and pains in his back, he would follow her everywhere. Finally, my door can be pushed easily open if it is not tightly shut, allowing animals to come and go as they please. Okay, back to the story. I hopped into my bed but couldn't fall asleep. The combination between my dog's loud breathing and the adrenaline still pumping through my body being unbearable, I reached down to stroke my dog's medium, rough, yellowish fur, pulling out fluffy clumps on the way. He was a mixed breed, the DNA test saying that he was a Husky, German Shepherd, Akita, and Chow Chow mix. You could see the Husky and German Shepherd in the body, and the Chow Chow and Akita in the fur. He sighed happily, and I heaved myself into my bed again. After some time, I fell asleep. A while later, I awoke to frantic barking beside my bed, and then it abruptly stopping. The same thing kept happening until one night I had enough. I kept my door firmly shut, and nothing bothered me. Then at around 1 a.m., frantic barking outside my door. By this time I was getting nervous. I turned to let him in, and standing by the doorway was my dog barking like mad. And a tall, human-shaped shadow loomed over the door, but the shadow didn't look quite human. His feet ended in points and stretched all the way across the room, and his head looked stooped over like he was leaning. His fingers were long, pointy, bony-like. I heard a scream come from my brother's room, but it sounded like somebody else's screams. More barking came from outside the window now, sobbing down the streets. Someone screamed for help in the kitchen. A huge bark came from the bathroom. Who were these people? What was happening to them? All this time, the creature inched toward us. I heard a terrifying sob from behind me. Then I realized that all these noises were my voice, just in the wrong spot. The only sound that was correct was a loaded, rasping breath from the creature. Then just like that, the thing disappeared. The sound was normal. My parents raced to my room, but when that creature left, it took some of my memory with it. Just the memories of that night, but they have come back to me bit by bit, year by year. There are small parts of the night that I might never remember and will never be explained. My dog died peacefully in my parents' arms a while later, and that creature has yet to return. But that's my story. This story isn't that long, and I can't spell, so here it is. So it was a normal night and nothing strange had happened, but I was still awake. I've always believed that my house was haunted. Every night doors would slam and I would hear noises like someone was speaking in the attic above my room. It would sound like boxes were being moved around. This would only happen late at night, so I would be the only one awake. One night I felt something on my face like a hand, but I didn't think much of it. Sometime later I awoke and saw the perfect outline of a small boy. He wasn't facing me, he was facing the wall. I didn't have a younger brother, so it wasn't any of my family. He looked like he was talking, but I didn't hear anything. I froze, not knowing what to do. After a couple minutes of staring at him, he disappeared. I still see that boy to this day. He would be in my room every night. I still hear noises and think it's the boy. So I was getting out of the shower, and in the darkness I see a shape run along the doorframe as I was walking out. It looked like my brother, same spiked hair and same height. So I screamed and ran into his room the same way he ran past me in the hall. So I looked in and he was asleep. Not fake asleep, but actually asleep. I was over at my cousin's house and we were just watching a movie and eating junk food. It was like 40 minutes into the movie and she heard a door open that made an annoying creak. We just thought that it was our older or younger brother, so we got up to see if anyone was out there. But when I looked, no one was there, and I just assumed that they went back to their room, so we went back to watching the movie. The same thing happened again, but when I went into their room to confront them, they were sound asleep. I even checked to make sure. They're not good at fake sleeping. When I went back to watch the movie after locking my other cousin's back door, to be safe, I saw my cousin huddled in the corner with a blanket and she looked terrified. I asked what was wrong and she just pointed to the window and I looked out and saw nothing, but she swore up and down that something was out there. I sat beside her and explained how both her brothers were asleep and they didn't have anything to do with the door opening. That made us both even more scared, so we sat in the corner together. Then the shadow of a tall man came into view. We were frozen in fear as the tall man walked towards us, but then he touched my cousin's head. I snapped and pushed him back into the hallway. We both pushed our backs onto the door to keep him out as he banged on the door. So many thoughts were going through my mind. Am I going to be raped? Is Paris, my cousin, gonna be able to make a run for it? I have to keep her safe. I wish someone was here to help us. My little body was shaking and so was Paris. Then I remembered my phone was under the pillow, so I told Paris to go get my phone while I held the door. She did and called the police, but after she did, the banging stopped and my uncle told me to open the door. Me and Paris were relieved when we heard his voice. We went to the kitchen and the guy was tied to a chair. When the police came, they told us that he was a rapist pedophile that they had been trying to track down for 3 months. I was so happy to be alive, and so was Paris, that the same night we hugged each other to sleep. I never want to go through that shit again, and Paris would agree with me if she was here.